Hey there guys, it's Anthony here from Cutting Edge Guitar. In today's video we're going to be talking about how to build better and more interesting guitar solos. Let's get right into it. Okay guys, the subject of today's video has come about from some of my subscribers and students asking me about my What If Pop Songs Had Guitar Solos videos that I've just done. So if you want to get involved in asking me about lessons that I can do to help you with your guitar playing, please do subscribe to the channel. Another point is we're going to talk about some quite advanced concepts in this lesson. You may need a bit of background that will help you out with a few of those ideas, and you can get that for free at the moment because I'm giving away some free copies of my first book, High Intensity Guitar Technique. Book 1 contains all of the things that you're going to need from what we're talking about in the video today. Certain fretboard knowledge concepts, techniques. We've got loads of video tutorials that support the stuff that goes in the book as well, so check that out. The link is in the description below. Go and grab yourself a free copy. And now let's get into what I'm doing in this pop guitar solo. So what I want to do first is I want to show you guys the actual solo. It was a Dua Lipa thing that I did. I just basically did a rock guitar solo over a Dua Lipa track, and I've been asked how did I do it. So let's take a look at the solo, then we're going to break it down. Okay guys, first things to point out with this solo is it was completely improvised, okay? So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to I don't really know exactly what I played in that solo, but I'm just going to break down some of the ideas and the concepts that I used, teach you those so that you might be able to go about constructing your own solo like this, hopefully in an improvised setting, maybe also in a compositional setting if you like what I played. If you don't like what I played, that's absolutely fine, but hopefully this will give you some ideas for springboards for creating your own things. So the first thing is deciding what scale you're going to draw upon, because the thing is with scales, theory, all of that sort of thing, guitar players generally have a bit of a problem with wanting to learn those things and want to just get into a tab, learn this, you know, just play stuff, whatever. And I totally get that because I didn't pick up the guitar because I wanted to learn complex theory things and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, certain theory things are just going to give you answers that just help, okay? So first thing, I had to work out what scale I was going to use. Now, the chord progression to this tune, I'm on a distorted tone right now, but it's we've got a B minor into a D, then from D into E minor, E minor to G, yeah. Just quickly slides up into an F sharp minor. Yeah, so the little F sharp minor's in there. Now, I just analysed those chords really quickly and was like, okay, this is in B minor. Now, I know that because I know the chords that live in a key and all them sorts of things. If you don't know that stuff, first things first, you've got to get your theory together. Okay, so get your theory together so you can know what scales to use. Now, those chords, they're not just telling me that it's the key of B minor, they're also telling me what mode that I need to be using. So it's fairly obvious that to play around those chords, I mean, if you know your theory, it's fairly obvious that you need to be using the B natural minor or the Aeolian mode. Now, playing around that. So once you know what the scale is that you're going to use, you then need to know that scale all over the whole guitar neck, so you know where everything is that you're going to use for your devices for soloing. Okay. Now, when I'm soloing over something like this, at different points you might use a particular device from within the scale to outline that particular chord. As a rock guitar player, you can kind of just use the one scale fits all and just go for it. But what you want to be doing is using your ears to make you think, okay, this note's going to sound good at this point, you know. I use a soloing concept or method that I refer to as the scale pyramid. Now, the thing with the scale pyramid is you can start out with your 7-note scale. So we know in our case, we just worked out it's going to be B Aeolian. And what I do with that is I look at those 7 notes as a base, and then I extract from those 7 notes 6-note soloing options, 5-note soloing options, 4-note soloing options, 3-note soloing options, and 2-note options. Hence this pyramid type thing. And when you look at 6 notes generally are hexatonic options, 5 notes pentatonic options. We know that stuff. 4 notes is all about arpeggios, 3 notes is triads, 2 notes is intervallic options. Loads more on that in some other tutorials at some point. That's generally how I tend to think my way through solos about what I'm going to use. Now, once you've figured out what the scale is, okay, what about how we construct that solo? So I'm just going to quickly have a little listen to what I played, because like I say, I have no idea really what I did. I just pushed go and recorded. So here's my opening segment. Okay, so what I played at the beginning there, I've just done. All I'm doing there is playing the root notes of the chord. So B, D, D, E, F sharp, into the G. So that's kind of like my bold opening statement that gets you into the solo. You always kind of want to start with something like, if you just literally rip into some shred stuff at the beginning, like you've started here, you've got absolutely nowhere to go. So bold opening statement. What do I go into after that? Okay, so after that, I'm then playing a lick that's, well, I'm not playing anything particular, a specific pattern, but I'm playing around this part of the guitar neck, kind of position 1 of the B Aeolian cage system. So I'm sort of just playing a lot of legato style patterns. I'm not really playing a specific pattern or a specific lick. I'm just playing stuff around this shape. Very Paul Gilbert influenced. Obviously, I'm not saying that I'm anywhere near as good as Paul Gilbert, but that's where the influence comes from for that stuff. Was hugely influenced by his rock playing. Absolutely love him. So I'm going for that sort of effect, then sliding into the next position. So I'm thinking of this as kind of cage position 1, but then I'm going to take that sort of idea up into this. Now that's basically 3 notes per string, so I'm thinking of cage and 3 notes per string at this point in the solo, just kind of burning around those shapes just to add excitement and interest. After that, I go to a bend exit. So the bend exit, I was sort of sliding around. So the sliding, I don't really know where the sliding thing came from, but it's a nice effect. And like I say, I was improvising this. I'm just jamming away as we go. But the exit point, I basically want it to be on the B minor chord, so I'm playing the bend from the A note into the B. Flat 7 up to the root note of the chord. Moving on from there, I'm thinking 3 notes per string, and I'm moving around the fretboard. So I'm using my 3 notes per string as kind of like a vehicle to throw me into a different part of the neck. At this point, when I was around here, I'm also using some sort of intervallic passages. So I like to use fourths, so I like to use a lot of thirds in my solos, that sort of thing. So if you're not sure on your intervals, you need to, like, if you like that effect, you need to be looking up playing intervallic patterns. There's loads of that sort of stuff in my second book, actually, intervallic patterns and them sorts of things. Just gives a different texture to just going straight down scales all the time. Now, where I went from this, I kind of had in my head that I wanted to move around the neck a little bit more. So what I did was I used this 3 notes per string territory for B natural minor to transition me over here by basically just playing some patterns like this. And off the back of that, so obviously that's got a little bit shreddy at that point, I then did this phrase line. Now, on a guitar like this, I tend to like to exit those sorts of things with a bit of trem. I play fixed bridge guitars and trem style guitars. When I've got the trem, I like to use it a lot, and then when I'm playing fixed bridge, I don't have it at all. So I do tend to use it a lot when I'm playing a guitar that's got the option for it, because it feels like a novelty. You could exit that sort of thing with, you know, your fretting hand vibrato. With that sort of stuff, you can do wide vibrato, you can do subtle vibrato, you know, you've got this circular, like just side to side. There's loads of different ways to do vibrato. Do whatever suits you. Now from there, I was fairly confident again that I was like, okay, I've gone this way down the neck, I've been phrasing around this part of the neck, and now I need a bit more sort of burn, a bit more excitement. So I was using this area again for B natural minor. When I do patterns, I tend to find that with the legato technique, I'm using legato a lot in this solo, I like to do a lot of repeating patterns. If you're repeating areas, it's sort of like a Joe Satriani type effect. You know, Satch, Vi, a bit sort of Brett Garcetti. Like those people are my influences when it comes to that sort of stuff. Again, I'm not trying to say for 1 second that I'm as good as these guys, but that's where the influence comes from in doing that sort of stuff. Now, what I was tending to do at this point, after playing those repeating patterns, I tend to connect up 3 notes per string areas, so that I've got like a 4 notes per string pattern. So that full rolling thing that I'm doing there, I'm utilising 1, 2, 3, 4 notes on that string to throw me into a new part of the neck. And then obviously there'll be some sort of bend, exit or whatever on the end of that run. Okay. Moving on from there, we then transition up to some different parts of the neck. The movement around with that stuff, again, I'm thinking in terms of like 3 notes per string positions and just, you know, playing around. There's a lot of that sort of pattern in there as well. Groups of like rhythmic groups of 5. I like that sort of thing a lot. It feels really fluid, rips around really nice. Okay, off of the back of that kind of thing, I'm then going into, I've used a lot of scalar stuff. I'll tell you what I did as well. When I was down here, after the phrasing thing, I missed out. There was a cool little lick that I did that goes a bit like this. Now, what's going on there? Pentatonic, so I've switched totally from scales and all that sort of stuff. This is B minor pentatonic. But then I'm going to borrow, after I've done this B minor pentatonic thing, which is in position 4 of the cage system. So kind of like a, 16th note-y phrase. So a little bit of, the standard pentatonic that you're going to use in B minor. But then I go into this. So how I'm thinking around that is I'm basing my idea around the G major 7 arpeggio that lives around that area. So why am I doing that? Well, this is all part of that scale pyramid thing that I'm thinking. G major 7 is one of the arpeggios that lives within the key. I've used it as an extraction, like a superimposition. Where all that sort of thing comes from, that actually is like from studying the jazz stuff. So I generally say to people, I'm not a jazz guitar player as such, but I've spent a lot of time researching jazz and what the musicians from that style will use, so that I can inject some of that excitement into my rock style playing, which is where the fusion thing sort of ends up. But anyway, that's for another video. But that's why I'm doing it. So it's a nice extraction. You imagine that played over a B minor. Sounds quite nice. So yeah, that was that device up there, backed up to where we'd got to with moving around the fretboard up here. So transitions into different areas. I was using sort of like the top 2 strings from my B natural minor, and then the groups of 5. Obviously, any of those kind of runs, they all need to have a bend type exit. The exit is what makes a run always sound exciting and cool. Back to pentatonic mode around up here. You see this sort of thing a lot. It's a really common question. How do I break out of the boxes and all that stuff? I think a lot of players, they tend to think about the 5 pentatonic positions as, okay, around here I'm now in B minor position 5. And here is position 1. And what players tend to do when they get stuck in the boxes is they play up and down each sort of box. They play their licks that go this way across the fretboard. And actually, how you break out of the boxes is by playing along the length of the neck rather than across the neck. So that little idea that I did here, a really wide style vibrato on the end of that, because that's my thing, that's what I like, but you don't have to do that. But yeah, just I'm playing position 5, kind of intervallic within position 5, and then sliding along into position 1. So that's how you connect them up and start owning a bit more of the fretboard. After this as well, I stayed pentatonic, and I've used a kind of a sequency approach. Which is, I like to use fourths in the pentatonic quite a lot. Kind of gives you a more sort of angular, again, fusiony sort of vibe rather than the standard. So just a different flavour on the pentatonic, kind of a nice little idea. From here, I've slid back down to like the position 4 area. I'm talking in terms of the cage system now. If anyone out there is unaware how I'm figuring that stuff out and working that out, well, it's all about your root notes, and then your root notes tell you what caged area you're in, and around that caged area you can build your chords, you can build your arpeggios, you can build your scales, you can build pentatonic forms, anything you want. And personally, I like a combination of using caged for fretboard navigation and 3 notes per string for playing the faster, more up-tempo licks. A lot of people out there will tell you either need to be, well, there's a lot of stuff on the internet where it's kind of like, oh, don't learn caged stuff, caged is hurting you, caged is bad, all the rest of it, blah blah. I just don't agree with that at all. If you learn the cage system and you learn the 3 notes per string system, and you can start connecting them all together, you can open up the entire fretboard. You never find yourself boxed into anything. So if there's one system that's good, learn it. If there's another system that's good, learn that too. Learn all the systems that you can, and then you'll open up the whole fretboard and be a more rounded and better player. So, you know. Anyway, that's for another lesson as well. So, what I did around the position 4 area when I was in here, I played this little lick. That's something I like to do around a position 4 arpeggio. But essentially, it's kind of like a B minor 7 fingering. Bit sort of Steve Vai. Steve Vai uses that sort of thing in the For the Love of God solo. With my little bend on the minor 3rd, exit to the root, and the exit from the solo, I used this. So what that is, I've basically got a G major triad arpeggio and a major triad arpeggio, which is a pair of adjacent major triads that live within the key. By playing up and down those two, you've got 3 notes in the G and 3 notes in the A, all put together. That's 6 notes of the whole scale, kind of like a hexatonic. And well, it's not like a hexatonic, it is. 6 notes is a hexatonic. But the thing is, like, using all 6 of those notes, it sounds much different when you phrase it that way to if I just played straight up and down 6 notes. So I like that approach. Up one arpeggio, and then down the next. So, there we go, guys. That is just a bunch of concepts and ideas that I used within that solo. I hope you found this really, really useful. If you've got questions that you want to ask me, drop something in the comments. Tell me what you think to the pop solos and all that sort of thing as well, if you think it's fun. Do you want to see more of them? If you want to see more of them, please do let me know. Like I said, if you want to get involved in asking me about lessons, things that I can help you out with your guitar playing, do subscribe to the channel, and don't forget that at the moment you can get a free copy of my book, High Intensity Guitar Technique Book 1, just by going to the link in the description. Go in there and you'll get, just drop your details in and you can get a free copy of this. So there we go. Hope that's been helpful, guys. Take care, and I will see you in another video.